At 0930 hours local time on May 4th, 2025, a single ballistic missile launched from a truck somewhere in the mountains of western Yemen covered 2,150 kilometers, climbed into the upper edge of the mesosphere, and re-entered the atmosphere traveling at a speed the Houthi military spokesman would later describe as 16 times the speed of sound. That is Mach 16. That is 19,600 kilometers per hour. That is a terminal velocity that defeats not just the engagement envelope of the THAAD system, America's crown jewel of upper-tier ballistic missile defense, deployed to Israel at the cost of tens of billions of dollars. But also the Arrow 3 system, Israel's own exo-atmospheric interceptor, built specifically to destroy incoming ballistic missiles in space before they reach the atmosphere. Both systems tried. Both systems failed. And the missile, Iran supplied, Yemeni launched, designed in a mountain workshop by a group that the US State Department redesignated as a foreign terrorist organization only 2 months earlier, gouged a crater into the ground just 100 meters from the main terminal of Ben Gurion International Airport. 8 people were injured. Every major international airline on Earth simultaneously suspended flights to Israel's primary international hub. Air France, Lufthansa, British Airways, Delta, United, all suspended operations within hours because of one missile that nobody could shoot down. That is the story the week of May 17th to May 23rd, 2026 is still living inside. Because the missile did not stop. The militia did not stop. The cost did not stop. And this week, while the US Navy is busy enforcing a 20-warship blockade of Iran in the Strait of Hormuz, while Israeli airstrikes continue in southern Lebanon and along Syrian border crossings, the Houthis are still firing. And nobody has answered the question the Ben Gurion crater asked 1 year ago. How does the world's most expensive missile defense architecture get beaten by people who measure their annual budget in millions, while their enemies measure theirs in trillions? Let's build the timeline, because the Houthi story over the past 14 months has become one of the most important military case studies in the history of asymmetric warfare. And almost every Western news cycle has ignored it, while focusing on drone footage over Moscow and carrier strike groups in the Persian Gulf. It begins with Operation Rough Rider. On March 15, 2025, President Donald Trump, after redesignating the Houthis as a foreign terrorist organization, after watching them launch more than 100 missile attacks against commercial shipping since October 2023, after watching them attack American warships with drones, sink 2 merchant ships, and kill 4 sailors, launched the most intensive American air campaign since the invasion of Afghanistan. More than 1,100 air and missile strikes in just 53 days. F/A-18E/F. Super Hornets flying from USS Harry S. Truman in the northern Red Sea. B-2 Spirit stealth bombers launching from Diego Garcia and dropping 2,000-pound GBU-57 bunker busters on underground Houthi command centers. MQ-9 Reaper drones hunting Houthi leadership targets across Sana'a and Hodeidah. The Trump administration expanded the strikes beyond infrastructure. It directly targeted Houthi leadership. This was no longer just suppression. It became a manhunting campaign. By April 22nd, US and Yemeni government estimates claimed between 500 and 600 Houthis had been killed. Houthi estimates, predictably lower, claimed 123 killed and 247 wounded during the first month alone. So what exactly did 1,100 strikes accomplish? Between March 15th and May 6th, the Houthis launched no fewer than 90 additional ballistic missiles and drones at Israel. They continued mining operations in the Red Sea. They continued boarding commercial vessels. And then, on May 4th, 30 days into the most intensive bombing campaign the Houthis had ever faced. They launched the Tufan hypersonic ballistic missile and created the crater beside Ben Gurion Airport that can still be verified today through commercial satellite imagery. In other words, under active and sustained American bombardment, the Houthis launched the single most strategically consequential missile attack of the entire Red Sea crisis. The bombing campaign did not suppress them. It did not destroy their most advanced capability. Instead, it cost the United States 2 Boeing F-18E Super Hornet fighters worth approximately $130 million combined, 7 MQ-9 Reaper drones worth another $210 million combined. And according to reporting from the New York Times and analysis by Arab Center DC, the Trump administration's own internal assessment concluded the campaign was costing more than $1 billion every month. Every month, against a militia. And the militia kept firing. Comment 1 if you think the US was right to bomb. Comment 2 if you think it was a strategic miscalculation. Because what happened next was one of the most extraordinary diplomatic reversals of the 21st century. On May 6, 2025, President Trump announced a ceasefire, brokered by Oman, the quiet Gulf mediator that has served as Washington's back channel to Tehran for 30 years. The terms, confirmed by Oman's statement and the Wikipedia ceasefire entry, were simple. The Houthis would stop targeting U.S. vessels. The United States would stop bombing Yemen. That is the entire deal. The Houthis would continue targeting Israeli territory. The Houthis would continue targeting commercial shipping not covered by the U.S. umbrella. The deal, in Trump's own words, was, they said, please don't bomb us anymore, and we're not going to attack your ships. And Trump said yes. Israel was not party to the ceasefire. Israel was not consulted. Israel was explicitly excluded. The Houthis said the deal did not apply to Israel in any way, shape, or form. And Trump, who had spent 50 days and $1 billion per month bombing a militia to protect global shipping, accepted a deal that explicitly left that militia free to continue attacking America's primary ally in the region. The strategic logic, to the extent one exists, was protecting U.S. ships was the objective. The objective was achieved. Move on. But the Houthis did not move on. They calculated the next chapter before the ceasefire ink was dry. From May to October 2025, per Wikipedia's 2026 Houthi strikes on Israel entry and the Congress.gov CRS reporting, the Houthis attacked 4 additional commercial ships with missiles, drones, and uncrewed boats, severely damaging 1 and sinking 2 more. They continued ballistic missile launches at Israeli territory. They killed at least 13 high-ranking Israeli strike targets. Wait, reversed. Israel struck back in its own campaign against Yemen between May and October 2025, killing 13 high-ranking Houthi leaders, destroying Sana'a International Airport with 20 F-35I Adirs, dropping 50 munitions, and hitting Hodeidah port repeatedly. The Houthis fired back. The exchange continued for 5 months. Neither side broke the other. In October 2025, a Gaza war ceasefire went into effect. The Houthis suspended their strikes on Israel, explicitly, publicly, and conditionally. The condition was that the Gaza ceasefire held. In February 2026, the United States and Israel attacked Iran. The condition evaporated. On March 28, 2026, the Houthis announced they were resuming attacks on Israel as part of the 2026 Iran war. Their military spokesman, Yahya Saree, said the group had launched ballistic missiles targeting sensitive military sites in Israel, vowing to continue until the aggression on all resistance fronts stops. The joint operation, as claimed by Sari, was coordinated with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the Iranian Army, and Hezbollah in Lebanon. In the weeks that followed, documented in Wikipedia's 2026 Houthi strikes on Israel entry, the Houthis launched more than 90 ballistic missiles and at least 45 drones at the Jewish state. This is the operational context of the current week. This is not history. This is the live threat environment as of May 17th to May 23rd, 2026. And the FDD analysis published on March 19th, 2026, titled Yemen, the Unfinished Business America Ignores at Its Peril, describes what the Houthis did with the 5 months between the October 2025 Gaza ceasefire and the February 2026 resumption of hostilities. They rearmed through weapons smuggling by sea, through overland supply lines from Iran via Oman, through the domestic production facilities that U.S. strikes had not successfully destroyed during Operation Rough Rider. The Houthis improved their missile guidance systems. They worked on increasing the range and terminal velocity of the Tufan. They built more launch vehicles. They rehearsed the command and control architecture for coordinated multi-axis launches against hardened Israeli air defense systems. The FDD report is clear. Local interdiction forces have had notable successes, but the flow of arms to the Houthis has not stopped. Here is the architecture of the problem that no one in the Western defense community has cleanly solved. The Houthi ballistic missile threat works because of two simultaneous truths that contradict the logic of traditional deterrence. Truth 1. The Houthis are willing to absorb costs that no conventional military force would accept. 14 months of US and UK airstrikes, 2 Air Force chiefs killed, Sana'a Airport destroyed, 13 senior leaders assassinated, no governance disruption, no leadership collapse, no capability degradation sufficient to end the missile launches. The Houthis are a non-state actor, embedded in a failed state, with no economy to threaten, no infrastructure they value, and no popular base that turns against them under bombing pressure. Every lever of conventional coercive deterrence, the threat of punishment, the promise of regime survival if compliant, the isolation of leadership from popular support, is structurally inapplicable. They have nothing left to lose that they have not already lost. Truth 2. The cost asymmetry is structural and permanent. Each Tufan hypersonic ballistic missile costs, by the best open source estimates, somewhere between $1 million and $5 million to manufacture and field. Each SM-3 Block 2A interceptor used by THAAD to defeat a ballistic missile in mid-course phase costs $21 million. Each Arrow 3 interceptor in terminal defense mode costs approximately $3.5 million, and both failed. Against a $5 million missile, the defender spent somewhere between $24.5 million and $80 million on interceptor stacks, burned down the magazine, and still got a crater 100 meters from the departure gates. The exchange ratio is not sustainable. The magazine is finite. The threat is not. The PBS NewsHour report from March 29, 2026, published one day after the Houthis resumed their attacks, captured the strategic moment precisely. The Houthi relaunch raises the concern that Tehran's proxies may again try to block Red Sea shipping routes, as Iran's chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz keeps another key global trade passage virtually closed. Read that sentence in its full implications. 2 of the world's 4 great maritime choke points, the Strait of Hormuz in the east and the Bab al-Mandab Strait at the southern entrance to the Red Sea, are simultaneously under threat from the same strategic axis. The U.S. Navy is running 20 warships through one. No equivalent force exists for the other. The shipping companies that fled the Red Sea in late 2023 and are still routing around southern Africa are doing the math on that sentence in real time. There is no moment on the visible horizon at which either choke point returns to pre-2023 baseline conditions. And the Houthis are still in the fight, still launching, still rearming, still the last proxy of the axis of resistance with a missile in the air this week, while Hezbollah is entangled in its own ceasefire breakdown in Lebanon, while Iran is being strangled by the blockade in Hormuz, while Iraqi Shia militias are quiet. The Houthis outlasted a U.S. bombing campaign. They extracted a ceasefire from a nuclear superpower with zero territorial concessions. They shot the world's most advanced missile defense system and found its ceiling. They put a crater at Ben Gurion Airport with a missile made in a Yemeni mountain workshop. That crater is still there. The Tufan is still in the launcher. And the FDD's March 2026 title is still unanswered. The unfinished business America ignores. The question is not whether the Houthis will fire again. The question is what they aim at next time, and whether the interceptors that failed once have been replaced. This is the week to be paying attention.